Diederik and Choose Again, called Lessons from the Pandemic. How could this be for me? I'm not going to talk too much about that. Diederik's obviously going to lead the discussion around this. I'm just going to give a little bit of housekeeping, just very, very briefly, to tell you that this session is going to be between 1.5 to 2 hours long. We'll see how, it very much depends on you guys, how many questions you'd like to offer in the discussion. So we've given this between 1.5 to 2 hours. The session is going to be recorded. I think the idea here is that we would really like to use the questions, the discussions, to use this also to share it with a group that's bigger than just this specific group. All your questions and all these discussions are obviously very helpful for many more people. So we'd like to share it publicly. If you feel uncomfortable about appearing on video, you can have two options. You can either turn your video off so we don't see your face. And if you'd really want to be discreet about it, you can change your name. And if you have any issue or a question about how to change your name, the way that your name appears on screen, just let Candice know. So Candice, could you make yourself known to everyone? Candice is our technical support today. So you can just write to her in the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Candice? So people will write directly with any technical questions or anything else. You can write to Candice, to me, or to Saskia with any questions that you have.
Yes, and I'll be here for 2 hours, just FYI. So if you have questions after that.
So after Diederik's, let's say the main segment where Diederik would be speaking and answering questions, we will be staying on a little bit longer to talk about some exciting new online programs that we're offering now. Choose Again is going to be offering in the next few months. So if you're interested to learn more about what Choose Again is doing at the moment, what programs we'll be offering, please stay and learn some more about what we're offering. We've got some really cool things lined up. Specifically, we've been focusing a lot about relationships recently. So we have some couples relationships coming up, relationships for the workplace, workshops about workplace relationships, and also some new workshops for people who are starting out with this work. So if you know anyone who wants to, if you're new to this work, or if you know anyone who would benefit from it, then we've got some really exciting programs for you and for them. And like Candice said, we'll stay on, Saskia and I will stay on after this to answer any questions about Choose Again more generally. And always just know, you can visit our website and find out any more information about what we do, our center in Costa Rica, circles, counseling sessions. We're doing quite a lot. So just invite you to check out the website after this. And I think that's it. That's all I had to share in terms of the big picture, and I'm happy to hand it over to Diederik. Just unmute yourself, Dee.
Famous COVID line. You're muted. Welcome. When I look at all these faces, I am amazed. It looks like a 20-year reunion. Somebody who's not on could mute so there's no background noise. Marky, good to see you. Claire, good to see you. Christine and Martin, wow, this is fantastic. Oh. That is terrible noise. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I want to start with a very short little piece from Hafiz. And it goes like this. I wish I could show you, when you're lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. I wish I could show you, when you're lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being. And the answer is, of course, I cannot do that. But what I can do, and what we can do as a teaching or healing community, whatever you want to call Choose Again, is to continue to see that light in ourselves. And by doing so, hopefully demonstrate that it can be done. That astonishing light that is within all of us, unquestionable, is available and can be reached. And we are in that process, every single one of us. You're in that process, every single one of you. And hopefully today we're going to find maybe a few small steps to add to our journey to continue on our path to remove barriers. What I would love to do is, as much as possible, is deal with real experience questions that come directly from your life, from what you're working on. Everybody's probably heard me go on and on. I can talk for 6 hours about our work and love doing so. And that's not what this is about. What this really is about is to give you an opportunity to have a direct experience of a shift. And the shift in perception is what we generally call a miracle. And why do we call it a miracle? And how many of us have had that? And I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but it's an amazing experience. When you're in the middle of what you think is absolute doo-doo, and suddenly there's a tiny shift, at thousandths of a degree, and the entire world changes. Everything changes. And that is really what our mind training is about, is to help you and help us to get more and more at ease with that process and to make it more and more automatic. So when something happens, and something happens to all of us every day, every single one of us has a trigger every single day. And to train our minds to make that trigger a blessing, number one, but also to use that trigger as quickly as possible. In the Course of Miracles, and some of you are familiar with that little blue book, it's wonderful light reading, but I can recommend it. In the Course, on 2 occasions, it says immediate correction. And I hammer that home. I'm not in favor of what I hear a lot in New Age languages of be patient, or I trust my process, I'll get through it, I always get through it. Yeah, but why not now? Why wait? And God knows I've been upset untold times. And in the past, an upset would last months. I've had upsets that I've walked around with for 50 years. I would strongly recommend all of us, myself included, to be completely committed to becoming less and less tolerant of what the Course calls mind wandering. And mind wandering is nothing other than the ego taking you on a wonderful little path in a direction that you have no intention of going. It's not a loving direction. It's once again a familiar hateful direction that you're zooming off into, and before you know it, we're back in anger, depression, sadness, worry, whatever it is, wherever the ego tells me I belong to be. But I don't belong there. I belong in that astonishing light. It is my birthright to connect to that astonishing light. So let's see if we as a group today can make a little progress in that direction. So I would love to start with questions from people. There was one question that came in. It's a fairly long one. I'll read it. I want to ask for help to handle the seeming splits that came into so many communities. Quite some close friends quitted friendships with me and others because I do not follow narratives of the Great Reset, New World Order and stuff. And I have to admit that sometimes express concern about far right-wing tendency in the Corona denier movement. I feel a lot of pain and sorrow about these splits, even knowing that there is no split. In relative truth, there is. So it's a fantastic question because it is such an obvious question that has nothing to do with COVID. And that's one thing you'll learn really quickly in our work. Whatever you think you're upset about is not at all what you're upset about. The Course says it very simply, I'm never upset for the reason I think. That's a really powerful statement. And if I really practice that statement and I don't give in to the feedback my ego is so eager to give and tell me exactly why I'm upset. Ostensibly, this person is saying I'm upset about losing friends, but that's not the issue. She's also expressing an upset around the Great Reset, the New World Order, and all the conspiracy theories that fly around the world that are absolutely astonishing and mind-blowing. but that's not the reason either. So what I would suggest, does anybody else, by the way, feel a similar concern that there has been an increasing separation rather than the opposite, which you'd expect in a universal calamity, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, that we become closer. And yet that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems that this enormous event that has affected millions of people, in the US alone is over 550,000 people dead. That is 4 million, 5 million people directly affected. And yet the ego is now so much in control that we've used even a circumstance like that to become further separated, further apart, further coming out with a statement that makes it clear that you and I are not the same, that you and I are different, that you and I have a different purpose. And how insane is that? There is only one purpose, and we share that purpose. And that has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with conspiracy theories or the reset or I'm getting my shot today, my COVID shot, and they're going to implant a little chip, which will make me a saint immediately. And I'm looking forward to that chip. Anybody else had their chip yet? You'll be controlled from afar. The astonishing light of your being will not be able to be extinguished any further. Anyway, so the real issue here with Anya has nothing to do with COVID. It has to do with the feeling associated with losing friends. How do I feel when I think I've lost a friend? First of all, ask myself, is it possible to lose a friend? No. Can I lose love? No. Why is that true? Why is it true that I cannot lose love? Because we've come to the conclusion, I've come to the conclusion experientially as well as theoretically, that there is only love. So how can I lose it? There is only love. Everything I see is love, not according to my ego. The ego has very clear distinctions between what it calls love and what it calls hate. And it's also very simple. What it calls love is what agrees with it, and what doesn't agree with it, it calls hate. It's that simple for the ego. For the loving mind, it's even more simple. There is no hate. There is no separation. There's a wonderful lesson in the course, lesson 77 and 78, which say basically that the only problem we have is that we think we're separated, and that as soon as we accept the fact that that is an absolute impossibility, all our problems are solved. That's a fun proposition. So really what I need to work on is constantly remind myself that Courtney Jackson and I are the same, that Barbara and I are the same, that Karen and I are the same. And that in truth, we are undeniably and irrevocably connected at all levels. And the ego says, well, that's great. Let's form a political party, or let's form a religion. Let's call this choose again religion, and then we all belong together. But that's not how it works. That's the opposite. Anytime I want to join a group because they agree with me or they look like me, I'm back into glorifying separation. Anytime I elevate an individual to a level that I don't ascribe to others, I'm practicing glorified separation. So really be clear that we're all absolutely one and absolutely the same and belong within the unit of oneness. There is nothing outside of it. And that really is the answer to every problem I could possibly think of. But it's an advanced answer. So we don't generally go there. Generally, we go through the process. And to find out what is, in Anya's case, what would her belief be, for example, that would allow her to choose this experience, an experience of increased loneliness, an experience of increased rejection, an experience of not belonging. And God, we know every single one of us on this call, and every one of us of the 7 billion that are not on this call, we all have the same beliefs. I don't belong. I can lose love. I'm not good enough. I'll never be loved. And COVID has given us ample opportunity to look at those beliefs. And particularly, we've heard a lot from people who were in difficult, intimate relationships when COVID started. And then, of course, because God has a delightful sense of humor, he said, okay, if you're in a difficult relationship, we're going to create a situation where you're going to be together for a whole year in one house, and you're not going to be allowed to go outside. Now, let's see what you're going to do with that. And what did we do with that? Did we use it, or did it deepen our desire for separation? Because don't underestimate the desire for separation. It's huge. Because what happens when I manage to separate from you, I manage to strengthen my individual identity, which I absolutely adore. Even though it is a nasty creature, it is the only identity I know. And I'm thoroughly and totally addicted to whatever it offers me. So the idea of oneness is not attractive to the ego. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. We don't want to go there. And yet that's the only solution. Forgive me for forgetting that we are one. Forgive me for forgetting that separation is not an option. It is an idea. It is an idea in the mind that I made up. It will never be true. So I hope Anya gets something out of that, because what I really want to get across for her in this case is that it's not about Corona. It's not about her friends. It's not about all the delightful conspiracy theories that people either buy into or don't buy into. It's not about any of that. It's just an old story that has found an opportunity to be expressed once again in what I call reality. And God, there it is. See? There it is again. And because I see it again, I believe it. But it's actually the other way around. I believe it, and therefore I see it again. So the reversal of cause and effect, and I see a lot of very familiar, very advanced students on the call, and all of you know that it's your beliefs that create your experience. And for the newcomers, that may be a bit of a shock. And for the newcomers, I will add then, it's my beliefs, and I made those up. I made those up in the first 10 years of my life. And those beliefs that I made up, I call Diederik. That's who I am. And of course, that decision to be that is supported by society. You go to a psychiatrist, he'll tell you. Not only that, but he'll also give you a whole bunch of wonderful diagnoses. I had a completely thorough medical examination in November. I've never had one quite as thorough as that, and it was online, so there was no poking or prodding or sticking out my tongue, but it was very thorough. And this wonderful person came out with 4 brand new diagnoses for my body. I was shocked. I was very impressed as well. So many wonderful diagnoses, and they don't mean a thing. They're just expressions and experiences of who I think I am. Who I think I am is expressed through my body. Let's go to another question. Are there any questions? If not, we're done. So it's been a pleasure seeing you. Or Elan, you're here. No, Elan is not. Okay, Gwen, you have a question. You have to raise your hand. And you have to unmute yourself.
So who's first?
Whoever's there. Elan, you're there, you're first.
Okay. So I'm up to lesson 31 about, I'm not a victim of the things I see. And I'm only starting to have glimpses of another reason for my body, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, really just these days. So could it be that my body can actually not only serve, as a sort of slave to my ego, which has which is really the experience that I have been having up to now and still am. So I wonder what you could, what sort of advice you can give me to push that understanding a little bit faster. Any pills specifically that would make it easier, because it feels great, and I only had just a little glimpse of it, and it feels that it's going to be a very long way ahead. So
how long will that way be?
The time I will decide.
Exactly. Thank
Yeah.
you. So as long as I keep saying it'll be a long way, or it'll be hard work, or this will be difficult, it will be all of those. That's why I was so excited when I saw in the course that the course also talks about a little willingness, as you know, a lot. And in one place it says active willingness. That gets my attention. And where it says immediate correction, that gets my attention. Because anything else will be taken by the ego. There's not an ego that isn't quite willing to have a little willingness. It will make it completely meaningless. But active willingness is a different story. So the question you had was, because you stated what you use your body for now, but what was the question?
Is there any other, am I unmuted yet? So is there any other way than doing the process over and over and over again, and repeating to myself and doing the lessons? Is there anything else I can do to just, to speed this up? Because this is really what I want. I want to be free from this bodily slavery,
Yeah, there's another way. So take your right hand and put your finger in your ear like this and walk around like that for the rest of the year. It will make all the difference. It's the ego that wants another way.
Right.
It's so astonishing. The ego looks for entertainment. The ego also knows that this process, whether it sounds like marketing or selling, or I don't care, this process works. And it scares the living shit out of the ego. So there must be another way. Let's find another way. And my dear brother, Meister Eckhart, who lived 700 years ago, said, he who tries to find God through ways will find ways, but he won't find God. So if I'm constantly interested in another way of doing it, then that is my fascination. I want to be entertained. We've had the same experience in our holotropic breathing. As you know, we do holotropic breathing, which is an immensely powerful process. And I've done maybe 1,500 of them. I don't know how many I've done, but I use the same soundtrack for each one of them. And the number of people that say, oh, we need a different soundtrack. It's not entertainment, sweetheart. This process is not to amuse you. This process is breathtakingly difficult, because what you're doing is you're making an entirely new person. You're dropping Elaine, and Elaine is screaming, I don't want to be dropped, but that's what you're doing. And once Elaine is being dropped, the astonishing light of your being becomes who you are. And if you find another way more effective than the 6-step process, I will be the first to use it. Let me know. I can't wait. But you know, you did throw in pills, etc. And I've done those too. I came back to the 6-step process. The pills are fun, and they do make you feel something, no question about it. And they work to save your life. So if you're in a condition where either you have a rope around your neck or you take a pill, then the choice is obvious. And eventually, the healing power on the planet is in my mind. There's nothing outside of it. That's where it is. And am I willing to risk letting go of everything else? Because it's a huge risk to the ego. Its identity is at stake. And what is being offered is my true identity, the identity of astonishing light. Does that answer your question?
Thanks. I'll come back later about drugs.
Okay, thank you. Gwen, you had your hand up earlier.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm struggling with a question that I know the answer to on one level, and yet it's a decision that has to be made with this pandemic stuff. So I'm in healthcare, alternative healthcare. I practice Chinese medicine. So I have a past that I refer to pick my point prescriptions or when I'm looking at treating somebody or myself, my body. And then a future of thinking going forward, prognosis, and so on and so forth, right? So although in the moment with that patient, I can put that aside, but I'm still using these reference points, right? So when I think of to get vaccinated or not get vaccinated, I'm really checking myself that I'm not coming from fear to make a decision based on that. But my decision of all the research I've done on these vaccines, and I'm a healthy person, I think I'm like 99% sure I've already had the coronavirus. I was very sick after coming back from vacation, going through Pearson Airport and what have you within a couple of days. So I do have some immunity. I don't want to get the vaccine at this point because I'm in healthcare. I was offered it a few weeks ago, but I want to make sure that my decision, knowing that that's coming from an ego, if I think I'm deciding anything, who's the I that's making this decision? Who's this fictitious dream figure who thinks they have any power to make a decision? And yet I'm still finding myself, especially when confronted with other people, my family is very, very fearful. They'd, run people over to go get that vaccine. Like they think that's the magic silver bullet to cure all this, and their fear can let go. So it's a problem because, well, it's not really a problem. It causes tension because they're calling me an anti-vaxxer, which I'm not. I'm just not, the jury's not out on this particular vaccine and the side effects or all the vaccines, and there'll be more to come in the fall. And what it looks like, we'll have to be getting boosters with all the research I've done forever, basically. I'm just not certain that I'm approaching this from the right, because obviously it's still going on in my mind, right? I'm hung up a wee bit on, am I making the right decision? And then trying to just let Holy Spirit help me decide in the moment, or just not think about it, just wait till I'm approached about it again. Probably I will have to, being in healthcare, if I want to keep my job, because I am policed by a government body, right? My college down the road, if I want to keep my job. I don't know, maybe you could comment on, that wasn't really a question, it was more of my struggle at the moment.
It's more like a debate that's probably raging in every single household on the planet right now. I mean, Stace and I have the same discussion. Two questions. One, are there any feelings that come up in you when you think of either getting a shot or not getting a shot?
I could see times maybe a little bit of anger can come up by the thought of being forced to do something.
Stop. So anger comes up, right? Is that what you said?
I think anger.
Yeah. So what I would encourage you and myself and everyone that is interested is to, when I say I have anger coming up, to not immediately give the, because that may very well be the reason, and there may also be a completely different reason. So when anger comes up, that tells me that it's not a loving, peaceful decision yet, clearly. So step 3 would say that anger, is that a familiar feeling? Do you get angry on occasion?
Yes.
Yeah. So do you remember the specific anger that comes up when you're being told by the the group of people you work with, whoever they are, the authorities, so to speak, that yes, you have to have a shot. You work and you're a healthcare worker, or a care worker, you need to get a shot. Done. The anger comes up. When did you first feel that? How old were you when that first came up? Where did that come from?
I can't think of a specific
Stay in the feeling.
scenario.
Stay in the feeling. So close your eyes, feel that anger, and don't let the ego to come up with an intellectual answer, because that answer will lead you away from where the healing is.
I can think of not specifics, but being forced by my parents to do something, whether it's go to bed or eat your peas or whatever. It's that sort of, I would say it's like that.
Mm-hmm. And so at that moment you felt
Yep.
anger, and that anger
Okay.
gave you a message about Gwen. What was that message? Just 1 sec. What was the message you gave yourself with that anger? They tell you to eat your peas, and you get angry.
That I'm powerless?
I'm powerless. Wonderful. Is that true?
Not on an ultimate level, but my ego believes it.
Right. And what are we here to do? We're here to act as if we've relinquished the ego. So I can always say, yeah, according to my ego, that's who I am. But that doesn't interest me anymore. In truth, am I powerless?
No.
No. So there's your first forgiveness. Forgive me for believing I'm powerless. Do that one 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 times. And then forgive me for forgetting that everything has always been for me in some way. Do that one 10 or 20 times. And then go back to the idea of getting a shot. I had another question for you about that. Who do you take the shot for? Who benefits from that shot?
The pharmaceutical companies that are making tons of money off of it.
Okay, that's a perfect ego answer. Nobody else benefits?
No.
Well, then I would not take that shot. If you're convinced of that, I would either not take the shot or I would do a little more research.
Okay.
I would really stay with that, but not until you've resolved the authority issue, because the authority issue plays for us so many times in a day for every single one of us. I want to be in charge, and over and over and over and over, I find out that's just not true. It will never get me anywhere. And be clear as to what is true benefit. If there is a benefit, who benefits from you getting a shot?
Well, if the government is looking to have control, I see the situation is about control and money, then the powers that be would benefit.
Okay, I can't help you with that one. I can only help you with going back and recognize the astonishing light within you. And I urge you to make a decision from a position of light, not from a position of fear, not from a position of conspiracy theories, not from a position of big pharma is profiting once again. Yes, they are, and they always will. But that's not the issue really right now. There's a long list of vaccines that have been taken by people since vaccines were invented, I think it was the 1920s or so, that have completely eradicated deadly lethal diseases.
Right. And
Right.
those two
Simon-
vaccines historic. This one's a bit different and it's experimental. And at this point,
Oh, they've always been the experimental. It's always been a crapshoot, and some have not worked. But where you are in your process is now dealing with issues that I'm not really interested in, because they don't bring me to a deeper sense of peace or love. I think you're trying to find an answer within fear, but it's the fear that has to go first. There is nothing to be afraid of. There's a funny little section in the course, and it can be abused, of course, and it says, if a brother asks you to do something outrageous, do it. Because he believes that his salvation depends on you doing it. If you say no, it is because you believe your salvation depends on not doing it. Now, that may or may not apply to the story of the vaccine. That's up to you to decide. I see a connection. I have no hesitation to take. I can't hear anything. What was that?
I didn't say anything.
No, okay. So Gwen, I would suggest work on your inner peace first. And when you're completely at peace, the answer will come. But I do feel at the moment that as long as the answer is buried in conspiracy theories about pharmaceutical or the elite or whatever they're called, the children eating, the baby sucking, whatever stuff has been coming up, which is so unbelievably ridiculous that it doesn't deserve a minute from our time. But you decide. And whatever decision you make, do not make it based on fear, because you'll be wrong. Make it based on complete and absolute quiet love, and that's who you are. And then you know that decision is the loving decision. Okay?
Okay.
And let us know how it goes.
Okay.
And let us know what job you're going to find if you refuse. Okay? Thank you. I'm sure this is something a lot of people are struggling with. There's no question about it. I hear it over and over and over. I hear it from Stacy too. We'll now go to Mel's. Your hand is up.
Wait, yeah, sorry, Dad, I just want to interrupt for a minute. If you can see in the participants bar, the list of people with their hands up.
No, I don't have that. Where's that?
Right, yeah, so I just want to make sure you can see it. So if you click on the participants button at the bottom,
yeah,
and the sidebar comes up and there's a list of people, and you
Yeah.
can see, so Diane Sobel's at the top and you can see the list. Can you see that?
Yeah. So Diana is
Okay, perfect,
clearly.
thank you.
Thank you for pointing it out. God, I'm not too old to learn, although I'll forget in 2 minutes. Okay, Diane, you're up.
Hi, thank you. I feel like my question is a perfect segue from, I think it was Helene or Helene's. And the question is, and everything you've said so far is absolutely right on. And I think also after Gwen's question, the question is this. I had an experience that the universe sent me two people, which totally triggered me like to no end. We ended up spending a couple days together, and during that time, I couldn't find the wherewithal to start to do the process. And I'm talking about really like, to feel a trigger like that, I think it's probably been a year. I can't even remember. So this happened about a week ago. And since then, I sat down and I tried to go back into the moment and the feeling and this and that. And I couldn't get there. My question is this, and I think you might have answered it. Or maybe it's my ego looking for another way, which is what the segue. Is it possible that the inner voice can process and do perhaps the 6 steps without me being conscious, or without one being conscious of it happening?
I love that question. And the answer would be a faith-based answer. And the faith-based answer would be absolutely yes. Because I think what we're doing with this process is to create new neural paths, and those neural paths become highways. And as they become highways, it is the way my thinking is going to go. So it's being taken off the interstate highway that the ego built. And now the thoughts are beginning to run more and more automatically along the new path, which becomes a highway and then becomes a superhighway, without even visiting the opportunity that the ego offers. So the answer would be yes, under condition that I'm disciplined enough to train my mind. I think that is the key.
So I'm not really interested in taking the time right now, but maybe later on, if there's still time, to see if I can bring up that, that experience and see, what's left of it. Because since I started this work 3 years ago, I mean, I've had my whole neural pathways, everything has changed. I mean, but also, I guess about a year ago, I started feeling like, and I've heard about it for the last 40 years, but I started feeling like the third eye started opening. My third eye started opening. People would talk and I'm like, I get it. And so I'm just, yeah. So that's basically my question and my experience at the same time.
Yeah, no, wonderful. I think what you're describing is a very natural progression of doing the work with discipline and consistently.
Okay.
So thank you for demonstrating that.
Thank you, Diederik.
Thank you. The next person is Hanneke. Hanneke Willems.
Hello, Diederik and everybody. I have a question about more the 6 steps progress. And I hear around me a lot of people saying, oh, if you have a problem with something you think or you feel, just give it to Holy Spirit and it's done. And I think, well, that's easy, but it's a shortcut and it doesn't work for me. And I would like to hear what you have to say about that.
That is a fantastic question. And the reason there is that approach is because our beloved little blue book is not consistent. In one part, it says that will not work because doing that, if the Holy Spirit could change your experience, it would diminish the power of your thought, and it will not do that. And it's very clear on that. So we don't have that approach. I hear that approach all the time. Yeah. Just hand it over. Just hand it over. Well, from my point of view, that does not work. However, it could work for 99% of people. So I can only teach what works for me. So what works for me is that I have to do it. I am the one that made up this nonsense. The Holy Spirit didn't make it up. The Holy Spirit has no power in unmaking it. The Holy Spirit can help me see the conditions under which I made these beliefs differently. That it can help me with. But it cannot actually change anything for me. I have to do that. I have to make that possible. I have to look at the barriers to love that I created, and I have to let them go. And who is that? Who is that I? That is the decision maker. That's not the ego. So we work with a slightly different model. You could say the decision maker could be the equivalent of the Holy Spirit. That's possible. That's one way of looking at it. But there are, unfortunately or fortunately, several interpretations possible of the Course, which has led to the inevitable debates, like what is right and what is not right. It says here this, and then somebody else says, yeah, but it says here that, which is exactly the opposite, which makes it an entertaining book. And funny enough, when I first started reading it, I made a decision for myself. If I find one contradiction, this book is out the window. Well, because I made that decision so clearly, for several years, I didn't see any contradictions. And now I see them all over the place, but I don't care. I use out of the contradiction what works for me. I let go of what doesn't work for me. So if handing it over to the Holy Spirit brings you peace, God bless you. From my point of view, I don't think it will have even the slightest impact on your core beliefs. I think they are untouched by that move. Yes, briefly you'll feel better, but nothing really changed. So unless you want to call on the Holy Spirit 24 hours a day, every second of the day, which you can do, and people do that. People spend, there are people in history who spend their entire life in prayer. And I would imagine that that's what it's like. But from my point of view, if I transform the core beliefs, I don't have to keep going to the Holy Spirit. The whole purpose of this exercise is to begin to see through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, because I've thrown all the other glasses away. I've changed the lenses. Does that make sense?
Ja, helemaal.
So whatever you hear from other teachers, don't throw it out, try it out. If it works for you, wonderful. If it is in direct contradiction from what you hear from me, I don't care. If it brings you peace, it works for you. I know what works for me, and that's the only thing I can teach. I cannot teach what other people teach without me having the experience of it working. Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
En ik zie je in september. Ik kom nog 1 keer.
En dan?
Okay. Next one is Siobhan Foley. Siobhan.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Diederik. Diederik, I've been working as diligently and relentlessly as I can over the last 2 years on my belief system. And nevertheless, I've recently attracted into my life a work situation where I really have come to see where I'm at in my process, because there are 2 different personalities there. One is very strong, fear-based, defensive, all of that. And I find myself being as conflict averse as I ever was. It's like I have never looked at my beliefs. It's like I just want to recede from this person. In fact, I asked to move office, so that I could be, and I'm just, I suppose, looking for if I've explained myself properly, it's about where am I at? What am I not doing? Or is it okay to just, when there's that level of
First of all,
of intensity.
everything is okay. So whatever reaction you choose is okay. Some reactions will lead you to a deeper sense of peace, and you'll find out what those are, and that's the one you'll pursue. But the conflict situation, so this person brings conflict in your experience of the relationship. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, obviously I was hoping she'd like me, so I'll have to put that out there. And I was, as friendly, as conciliatory, as all of that as I possibly could, even though I knew that this fear was in her and it could come out. But after a number of, we'll say, verbal attacks and criticisms, I said, I just wasn't able to handle it. And of course, I'm back to myself saying, well, if your belief in yourself was strong enough, this wouldn't mean anything to you, and you'd be, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And is that, yeah.
Yeah. So be loving, be kind to yourself. So be honest and say, yes, this still triggers me. And my first reaction is to walk away from the situation, which is a natural ego reaction. I'm very familiar with that one. However, we're growing up, we're becoming adults. Have you noticed? The decision maker is becoming an adult, and it's really quite a delightful person to be with. And that decision maker is going to say, you know what, you still react to this. You got criticism and you react. That means that you still have a belief about you that resonates with that criticism. And the good news, Siobhan, is you and I know it's a belief. So the person came into your life just to reflect, to hold up a mirror and say, this is how far you've come. Not to say, oh boy, you haven't done any work, you're still losing, you're still failing, you're still doing it wrong. No, this is how far you've come, and now we're going to step it up again. Because I don't think any of us will ever be done. There may have been a few people on the planet that were done, but my hunch is if there were, nobody would ever have seen them. So I think we're well on our way to have more and more an experience of our astonishing light. And this person came into your life to say, a little more work to be done. Now, you can say, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it in this setting. It's too difficult. I'm going to walk out.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. The only one that would judge you for that is you and the person you're walking away from. But there's nothing wrong with that because that is a decision you made. You and I know that you can do that. And you also know the next person walks into your life, you're going to get exactly the same lesson because that's where you are right now. And it's a beautiful place to be. I still have fear of conflict. I can tell you, if my partner is triggered or unhappy, what comes up for me still is I'm responsible for it. It's my fault. So what comes up for you is your guilt. What comes up for me is my guilt. But there is no guilt. There's only belief in guilt. Are you guilty? Is it true that it's your fault?
Funny enough, I believe it is, yes.
Of course you believe it is, otherwise you wouldn't be triggered. But is it true?
Well, no, in the real sense, no.
No, it's not true. I'm not responsible for how my partner feels. There's a fantastic line, relationship hell is holding yourself responsible for how your partner feels.
Yeah.
Don't forget that line. It's one I work with every day. Not that I have to very often, but it does come up. When Stace is not happy, I believe it's my fault. And what happens then, that because I feel guilty, I reflect that back to my partner, who then feels more guilty because now she's made me feel guilty too. So that's the horrible, wonderful delight of the guilt ball passing back and forth in a normal, dysfunctional relationship.
Yeah,
you're not guilty, partner's not guilty. She is bringing you a lesson that you can now heal or not, but you've done nothing wrong. And if you say, this is too difficult, I get criticized 17 hours a day, I'm not ready for that, I'm not advanced enough, leave. You're going to get the next person doing the same thing, but you can take a break. And it could also be that the next person will bring you a lesson, the same lesson, in a form that you find that you're more receptive to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So ideally, there's a saying, never leave a relationship till it's working. That doesn't mean you're going to be beaten up till you're blue and black and bleeding and lying in the corner somewhere. So, oh, now I'm at peace. That's not how it works. Be gentle with yourself. Recognize it's a process. Recognize you're going to do it regardless. You can say, fuck it, I'm doing it now. Or I'll do it with the next person. The universe is incredibly generous. It will present the same lesson till you got it.
The thing is, I'm tired of those. I really want to do, I want to heal it. I'm tired of the learning process. Yeah.
And you will heal it. There's no question that if you've been at it for 2 years, you've already experienced an enormous shift. And there comes a time when it becomes tweaking. It's no more of these earthquake experiences or hurricane or tsunami experiences. Now it's, oh yeah, I forgot. I still have to work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Well done.
Very much.
Thank you. The next person is Mels.
Yeah, hi. You can hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. What my question is with this Corona, I blame everything on Corona. I love Corona because everything that goes wrong is Corona's fault. So, but I have a problem with the loneliness that Corona brings. Here in Holland, we cannot go out at night, and I miss it.
Yeah.
People get very quiet and lonely, and I try to solve it work with it with the 6 steps, but somehow that doesn't work because I think that the loneliness is triggered by myself. And I love to have triggers from my ex or somebody else who pisses me off. I love those triggers because those are easy. But the triggers for myself, it doesn't work. Steps. I never been lonely in my life. I have.
What is loneliness? What is the message when I say I'm lonely? What am I saying?
That I'm alone, that I'm bored.
I'm bored. Okay. I'm bored. Are you familiar with the Cursus in Wonderen?
I've heard of it.
Okay, then I'll give you a little line from the course, which will piss you off no end. And it says, only what I have not given can be lacking in any situation.
Wait. Can you say that again?
Only what I have not given can be lacking in any situation. So I'm alone. COVID prevents me from seeing my friends, prevents me from going for a beer, prevents me from going for a bike ride and sitting in a park somewhere and talking to friends. I can't do any of that. And here comes the Course in Miracles and says, only what I have not given can be lacking. So what do you think you could give to your current situation? What do you think you're not giving?
I don't know. I don't get it.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, also the translation. It's not my native language, huh? So what I'm not giving in what sense?
Enige wat ik niet gegeven heb, kan ontbreken in enige situatie. Mark van Maastricht, you can probably translate it better. He's brilliant at translating. So, het enige wat ik niet gegeven heb, alleen wat ik niet gegeven heb, kan ontbreken in iedere situatie. In other words, every situation is 100% complete. Wherever I am, whatever situation I find myself in, that situation offers me 100% of what I need and want at any given time. But the ego says no. And how can you shift? How could I shift out of loneliness to being gloriously happy, alone, maybe another month, maybe another 2 months? Who knows what COVID will do? Maybe another week.
But are you saying that loneliness is the ego is saying that I'm lonely? And basically,
absolutely. Loneliness is a very deep level of self-hatred. Because you're alone with someone you can't stand. That's why you need new people around you.
Yeah.
So what COVID has done, COVID has said, here's Mel's. Mel's is an interesting name, by the way. I've never heard that before. Here's Mel's. He hates himself. He's not doing the work because he's hanging around with people and he's having a wonderful beer on the corner on the terrace and he's having a good time. What we're going to do is we're going to send COVID, and that will force this Mel's character to look at his self-hatred because it will become obvious. He's looking at himself all day long and he is pissed off.
Hey, that's not the answer I want.
I know it isn't.
I want a magic pill to... Okay, thank you.
Nels, here's the magic pill. When I feel lonely, it is because I believe that something or someone could complete me. And COVID is preventing me from finding that completion. Unfortunately, that is never true. The truth is, I have everything within me right now. There's something happened. Mel's is gone and now Nina is showing and that shouldn't be. Where's Mel's? Come back, Mel's.
I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Thank you. So what this is for you and for everyone else that's been lonely in the COVID stat, and believe me, we get dozens of people with exactly the same story, desperately lonely. What a fantastic opportunity, Mels, to look inside and recognize who you are, and recognize that who you are in truth could never be lonely. There's a funny little line that says it's impossible to be lonely if you like the one you're alone with.
Yeah,
So it's your
that's
turn.
true.
It's your turn. It's your turn to say, I
Okay.
don't need anybody. Nothing outside of me can bring me anything I need. Everything is already within me. That's the beauty of Advaita teaching. You are everything there is. And the ego that wants to have an individual identity says, yes, there's Mel's, but there's also all the other people that I need in order to be complete. I need to be entertained. I need to be able to go to a bar. I need to be able to go to a soccer game. I want to see Holland play football, for example. Maybe you don't. I do.
Good luck then.
And I can't. So I have a belief that all those things will bring me something that I'm now lacking, and that could never be true. So there's your work. So I would suggest, have you read my book yet? It's in
Yeah.
Dutch. Okay, read it again. Read it again. Because the answer to your question is in the book. And be patient with yourself. That the level of self-hatred that you and I suffer from takes a little while because it's very stubborn. And it's always right. It can point to all the circumstances. If that was changed, I would feel different. And I actually believe that.
Now you got me confused.
That's also part of my purpose.
Ah,
And what is the confusion?
I was so happy with my smart remark that I forgot why I was saying it.
I love it.
There was a contradiction, but I don't know what it was anymore. So never mind. I know my homework.
You know your homework and you can do it. You know you can do it. Are you worth the effort? Look carefully at what your ego says. If the ego says, if you're going to do this work, there will be a cost. And you've listened to that warning. You haven't asked what is the cost. You just heard the warning. But the cost is, it will cost you everything you now think is important. That's what will happen in this work. In other words, you're going to strip, relinquish everything you now value. And one of the great gifts that COVID has brought us, me and us as a couple, is that we've let go of so many things we enjoyed. And you know what? It's still complete. It's more complete. And you're gone again. And now there's a Fran Alexander, which I don't know why she's on the screen, or he. So Mel's, come back again, say something so you can come back on.
I'm here.
There you are. Okay. So that's it. Look at your belief, go into the feeling. I feel lonely. That's a feeling. Fantastic. Step 3. Step 2, it's about me. It's not about changing the circumstance. It's about me. Step 3 is I want to feel that feeling. Now take that feeling back to when you were a little boy. My hunch is there were times that you felt desperately lonely when you were little. Go back to those times. What was happening at that moment? What did you decide about little Mel's? And then you decide otherwise. Then you say, no, that's not who I am. That's a decision I made, in your case, what, 50 years ago, 45? How old are you?
Thank you. 50.
50, yeah, that's what I thought. 50 years ago, 48 years ago, you made that up. None of it is true. Who you are is that astonishing light that Hafiz told you about at the beginning of our session. That's who you are. Do you think that astonishing light could ever be lonely?
I have a hard time seeing myself as an astonishing light, but that's because I'm.
Yeah, and I love your honesty, because I don't know anybody, including me, who automatically says, oh yeah, I can see that light. If I could see that light, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'm talking to you because I need to go there with you. We're doing it together. We're doing the same work. I'm not different from you. We have the same beliefs. I may be a step or two ahead of you in time, but I have the same lessons you do. And you'll come to a time when you welcome the lessons, because you know every time you do a process, you'll feel better.
Mhm.
It's literally like learning a sport or learning any skill. The more you practice it, the more automatic it becomes, and then the easier you are and the more confidence you have, and the more at peace you'll be.
You're never lonely.
No. In the past, I was devastatingly lonely. But I'm so clear that that was nothing other than a very, very profound level of self-hatred. I hated myself. Well, if I'm with someone I hate, I'm going to feel lonely. I need everything else to cover that up. It will never happen. It will never work. It can only change when you change your mind about who you think you are. You're doing great. Consider you're brand new. Fantastic. I'll see you in September. I'm coming to Holland to make your life very difficult.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Hans-Erik Lagerwey.
Ja, hallo Diederik. Hoor je mij?
Ja, ik kan je horen en zien.
Hartstikke goed. Ja, het kwam wel even naar boven. Autoriteiten. Met mijn hoofd snap ik het wel.
Hans, I'm going to slow you down. See, unless we have a translator on the program.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You have to do it in English.
Sorry. I forgot.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah, it already came up once. The word authorities. It's a well-known thing in my life. I had problems with, so I know it's an ego thing. But right now, in this COVID thing, it's getting magnified and magnified, of course.
Yeah. And
I understand it with my head, but it's making me really crazy. And I've done quite some work already on it, also with the 6 steps. But it's so big. And the main thing is, in normal life with normal people, I can handle the authorities nowadays or the conflicts. But
you live in Holland?
Partly Holland, partly in Spain, and I'm mostly in Spain.
So where do you find normal people?
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
So there are no normal.
Well, I'm just saying what I mean. The real authorities, like people who are wearing uniforms, like politicians who have an unequal power.
Yeah.
There lies my biggest problem. There is always an unequal power. So
where is that power?
Yeah, well, they have power because they are having this uniform. They have the law. They can change the law, whatever they want. So
where is that power?
Where is that power? Well, the thing is they can punish me, and it also has to do with guilt. I know the feeling of guilt. I am guilty, so I should be punished. That also comes up in this process. Yeah.
So the authority issue is a very tricky one, and one that every single one on the planet deals with. And it seems to have to do with police or government or laws. And God knows, my daughter is on the call and she can tell you that I've never been very good at any of those. However, I've healed from that point of view. I've healed a great deal. Because what does it actually say? I want to be the author of who I am. And the only creature I can be the author of is my invention, which is my ego. And my ego is the one that feeds me the authority issue. So I'm stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in a loop. How about if we surrender the authority to the astonishing light of your being? How about if you decide for yourself, and I decide for myself right now, the only authority that I will recognize the astonishing light in everyone. the love in everyone, and move into trust. Yes, there are people, and Big Pharma is one of them, that stand to make a lot of money on COVID, no question. How does that affect me? And you can answer that question for yourself. I can answer it for me, but it's not an issue for me at the moment. So I can't really answer it, but it also always comes from how I see myself. So if I see myself as lesser than and weak and powerless, I will have more of an authority issue than when I begin to know who I am. Who are you?
I don't feel free. I think that's well, I say they take away my freedom. I understand it has to do with me, but I feel as if my freedom is taken away. I cannot do the things I want to do. I cannot live the life I want. I cannot travel. I hardly can see my daughter who is living in Holland, which hurts me a lot. These things, yeah.
Right. So remember you said the word feel. I feel that I can't. I feel this, I feel that. The feeling is chosen by your belief.
Yeah.
Take a wild guess what your belief might be. Everybody that's trained already knows what your belief is. What do you think your belief is? So if I'm constantly being told what to do and I don't feel free.
Yeah, again, what do I think? I'm powerless.
I'm powerless, exactly. Is that true?
I feel powerless again with these real authorities wearing uniforms who have all the power, in my opinion, because it's so unequal.
So don't switch back. You're in step 2. Step 2 says it's about you. Step 3, you chose the feeling. Who is the guy that chose that feeling? Oh, that's the belief that I'm powerless. That's all you need to do. You don't go back to I feel powerless because. Because the because is invented by you. Once you know who you are and you recognize that no one has authority over love, love is the only power on the planet. There is no power that can oppose it, and that's who you are. Everything starts shifting. I can assure you, I used to have contentious relationships with authority. And parts of my life I still do. Maybe it's a Dutch trait, I don't know what it is, but it was very big in me. It's completely changed. Completely. Why? Because I begin to get a glimpse of who I am. I begin to see that actually that astonishing light is within me. It's also within the person in the uniform. And once I start seeing that, and then I start seeing that the person in the uniform, if they're abusing that uniform or the power, it's because they have the same belief I do. They're powerless.
Yeah.
The more I recognize that, and the more I do my own healing, the more love I feel, compassion I feel for people that abuse that power. I don't know if it's in the book or if I mentioned it before, but I had a dream, or not a dream, an experience many years ago, 18 years ago. When I was abused by power, I would get nauseous. It would make me physically ill. Like the Rodney King thing, I couldn't see without throwing up. You probably don't know what Rodney King is, but there are people on the call that probably are old enough to know. Serious police abuse. This time I was watching a movie and it took place in Africa, and I could see a couple having a tea on a beautiful veranda with lovely grounds and trees and just idyllic. But way in the background, out of focus, you could see a white man beating a little black boy to death. And I felt nothing but compassion for the white man. At that moment, I knew that I'd healed my authority issue. Because I tapped into how much self-hatred I have to kill a little boy. That's unbelievable that I can let my self-hatred go that far, that I do something like that. Give love to it. Send love to the authorities. Trust, have faith, know that everything is always for the best. We don't have to know how yet. We'll find out, but surrender. If there's something you can do about it, you do something about it.
Yeah, I can feel what you mean. It really touches my heart. But at the same moment, I feel there's something underneath that I deserve to be punished. Now that suddenly comes up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why you're afraid the authority issue is going to punish you.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're looking for. That's why we have religions, Christian religions, built on the idea that God is going to punish you. That's what we all crave. That's consistent with our core beliefs. It is unheard of that Western religion, whatever we want to call it, would come out and say, hey, you're innocent, and God only sees the truth and the love in who you are. What do you mean? I don't have to pray. I don't have to go to church. I don't have to do all these things in order to maybe end up in heaven. No, you don't. You're already there. You just forgot. There's no religion like that because it wouldn't have no power over you. So if I want to have a religion, if I want to be a religious leader, I have to strengthen your fear and tell you that I have the answer to your fear. In the meantime, feeding your fear. We're not doing that. You're innocent. You're not going to be punished. The only punishment that you're experiencing is by you. No one, nothing can touch you.
But how can I get away from that belief that I deserve to be punished?
That's a mistaken belief. You made that up a long time ago.
Mhm.
It's a mistaken belief. Now, you may have made mistakes. If you're like me, you've made thousands of mistakes, and mistakes need to be corrected, no question. But punishment has never worked for anyone. If punishment worked, the United States would be free of crime. There's more jails and more people in jail than in any other civilization in history. Doesn't seem to work too well, does it?
Yeah.
Self-punishment has never worked either, because it only leads to more guilt and more shame and more suffering and more loneliness. You're innocent. The astonishing light of your being I can see. And as you see it, everything is over. You can look at someone in a uniform and say, I love you. And everything will change dramatically. Cool?
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lauren Olson.
Hey.
I haven't seen you in 20 years.
I know.
You were young last time I saw you. What happened?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Good to see you.
You too.
What's your question?
I am struggling with going back to the vaccine idea. And what I've been really working on is the sense that I'm not responsible for others. Yet this narrative comes along collective that we're in this together, and so that I can do my part to keep other people safe, I need to do this, get this shot that I don't want to take. And I don't know how to reconcile those two things.
You won't recognize them as long as you think it's about the shot. It has nothing to do with COVID. It has nothing to do with vaccines. It has to do with something entirely different. So it's essential, as you probably heard me say once or twice, it's essential you go back to step 2. Say, it's not about COVID. It's not about the vaccine. I'm going to go to my feeling. That's the only way I'll get out of it. I'll stay out of the story. And during your process, your ego will want to drag the story back in. Don't allow it, because it's not about that. It's about something that happened, in your case, 22 years ago, and something happened and you made up something about Lauren, and that is what you're now living. It has nothing to do with COVID or the vaccine.
Okay.
You know that as well, or better than anyone that I know, because you've done this work now for what, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years? I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you know it. And the temptation, because this is a real story. Everybody can see COVID is real. Everybody can see the vaccine. It's a real story. No, it's not. It's still a construct of my mind. It's a neutral fact. Here's some liquid in a needle that they're going to pump into my arm this evening at 5:55. That's what happens. That's a neutral event. Now, what meaning am I going to give it? How am I going to experience it. I'm going to choose my experience of this. What am I going to choose? I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose fear. I'm going to choose anger. I'm going to choose worry. I'm going to choose suspicion. What am I going to choose?
Thank you. That's funny how like blocked that was and then disarmed. I'm good.
You always were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. And next is Diane.
This Diane? Okay. So I got my shot on Monday, and originally I wasn't. Diederik, are you there? I'm not seeing you.
I'm here.
Okay. And on the way, I had been nervous about it before, and then I'm even getting nervous talking about it. But on my way, I thought, okay, this is a love potion. You know, the scientists created it out of love. But I was so nervous. I could see two of me going on. The one that felt it's love, it's going to allow me to extend love, but yet I felt absolutely so anxious. So I guess it's, I have both of my minds working equally. And what does one do when that's going on? I thought I came to a place of peace.
Well, and recognize that both are ego stories. It's not a love potion. It's just a vaccine. It's nothing. It's neither a love potion nor not a love potion. It's neither poison nor not poison. It's neither good for me nor not good for me. It's neutral. And the ego wants to make it palatable by calling it a love potion. It's got nothing to do with
I guess
that.
I felt like, well, if my purpose is to extend love, if I have this vaccine, I can go in and see my mother where they won't let me see her now without a vaccine. I can go, I'm in the Yukon where 65% of the population is vaccinated. I can be with all these people who are vaccinated and they'll embrace me more and I can love them more. But I know I had another thing going on because of my deep anxiety about it.
So what is the anxiety saying about you? What's the message that anxiety gives you about you? It's not about COVID, about you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that I can make a wrong decision, that there's a decision.
You can make
this could be wrong.
And what happens when Diane makes the wrong decision? What does your ego say will happen?
My life could be horrible. I could be separated. I could be unhappy. I could be all these.
Has any of that been your experience so far?
Yeah.
All of it. So your ego is just going to tell you, you'll be just as miserable as you've always been. In other words, why not take the shot? It won't make any difference, apparently. So that's not it either. So I have a belief that my life has been miserable. Who is the I that believes that? That's what we're going to look at. Who is that I that says my life has been miserable? I've been lonely. Who is that?
My ego mind.
Oh, that's an I you made up. And that I is now projecting the set of beliefs it calls Diane onto COVID and the vaccine. The COVID and the vaccine are a blank screen. Everybody, as you can hear by now, people are projecting different things on it. Some people see it as a conspiracy by Big Pharma. Other people see it as we're going to be programmed. Other people, whatever. It just comes from within me. The vaccine is neutral. COVID is neutral. Everything that's happened is neutral. My experience has been chosen by me. The I that chose a miserable experience or a less than joyful experience is the I we want to transform. We want to recognize that that I is not who I am in truth. That's an I I've lived with for a long time. I'm not interested in that I anymore. And I'm not going to use the experience I have with that I, which is extensive, to ask for its opinion on a new situation called COVID. Because the opinion will be the same on any situation. That's why I asked you, has your life been like that? And you bravely said yes. And that's how you know that the ego is just going to tell you over and over the same nonsense. But because it knows that you're not stupid, it's going to package it differently. It's going to say, this is about COVID. Now it's different. It's not. Still the same story. You are love. You are whole. You are complete. And what you do with your body is either loving or fearful. And if you take a COVID vaccine out of love, you'll have one experience. If you take it out of fear, you'll have another. If you don't take it out of love, it's one experience. If you don't take it out of fear, it's another experience. That's all it is. So the vaccine is neither a savior nor not a savior. You decide. But the key for all of us and every single one of us in this room today is to continuously go back and say, what is preventing me from experiencing the astonishing light that I am? How can I be more in that light? And the answer is clear. I have to open the curtains. I have to turn the light on. It's there. The light is unchangeable. It's always there. The self I think I am has dimmed it, or blocked it, rather. And so COVID is for all of us to say, wow, I honestly thought I was further along. Boy, I'm glad to see I wasn't. Back to work. Cool?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Next is Bibiana.
Hello. I have a question regarding step 6. I recognize within myself when I process and the shift happens, I'm able to see the situation, what I see before as a conflict, peacefully. And I'm aware of a peace within me. And there's a sense of unity. And yes, it's for me. It's for me. So it feels like a gift. And then let's say neutral words are said from facilitator, like Bibiana, not in concept. And right away, I put a judgment on myself that if I was really at peace, it will not hook. Even though I recognize it's also a different belief, it's again, you fraud. Oh, and I start doubting myself. Maybe it was spiritual ego what did not really feel the peace, because suddenly 2 minutes later, you are doubting yourself that, oh, you're being exposed. When
Right.
I see at the same time within me, I'm aware, no, it's not a gift. The words triggered me. I made it about me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm a fraud and, oh, I'm not capable. It was spiritual ego feeling the peace. The peace wasn't real, blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing, but I recognize the same. So my question is, not even advice, because again, who's asking? But regarding sneaky ways in a step 6 spiritual ego, I don't even know how to ask.
Well, I would be more, perhaps a little more forgiving. You were in peace. You experienced the truth. Somebody said something to you and you were yanked out of that peace. You yanked yourself out of that peace. That doesn't mean you were not at peace.
Exactly.
It just means that you and I still have a belief. So I can be completely at peace and something can happen that triggers an old belief that I still have, and I'm not in peace. That doesn't mean that I was a fraud when I was at peace.
Yeah.
At all. It means, oh, thank you. Wow. I was so blissful, and now I recognize in order to extend the time of that bliss period, I have to do a little more work. Wonderful. I'll do another forgiveness. Forgive me for believing I'm a fraud. Forgive me for believing I'm a fraud. How many people in the room have that belief? I can guarantee you, every one of us. Especially that comes up. Bibiana, can you say something, because you've
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Every single one of us that's doing this work, and particularly in the beginning, will come up with, you're a fraud. I used to get that all the time. The first couple of months I was doing this work, devastating, because that's my father's voice. My father would tell me over and over, whatever you're doing, you're faking it, you're not real, you're no good, you'll never be any good for those. That was basically the message. So when I started doing this work and I started actually extending love, which I'd never done in my life because I didn't even know what it was, the ego would come in and say, why are you really doing that? You're a fraud. And boy, did that get me. Till I recognized, yeah, that's my old self. That's that old belief that I'm a fraud, that I don't deserve, that I'm not good enough, that whatever I do, wow, that's not true. I'm going to let that go. I don't need my father with me anymore. So that belief, I can guarantee you, if you look at it with love over and over, will go really quickly. What you will be left with, of course, is recurring lessons. But that really nasty, you're a fraud, which is so vicious, won't come
Yes.
up.
I recognize it's almost like code word, I'm not capable. The fraud one hides that. And a little bit of me was surprised, like, oh, now it's in my 6-step process. It wasn't there before. So it's like, oh, it tainted this even. But I just see, again, I'm not a victim of this. This is not a victim. It's for me. It's me. An expectation of ego. Oh, if you're not a fraud, the piece will be solid. And next 2 minutes, everything will bounce off it. It's just a little child thinking.
No, that's magical thinking, and it may work like that, but not likely.
Exactly.
People, and I've read about people, particularly in India apparently, and other parts of the world that had spontaneous enlightenment. Yeah, can happen.
Yes.
Hasn't happened for me, and I'm not waiting for it. I'm just going to continue to look at the barriers, make them weaker, take them down by Rick.
Yes, and thank you. It's for me.
I must say, and those of you that know you, if I look back at when I first met you a few months ago or a year ago, you've come light years.
It is a year. It is a year. And what a blessing. Thank you.
And it may all be fraudulent. I don't know. It's up to you. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done. And the next one is Karen.
Hi.
Hi, Karen.
So I'm going through a anxiety attacks since the last 3 months, and I'm taking medicine, and I feel so guilty for it that every time I take it, I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. I should know how to heal myself. What am I doing? But I need the pill. So it's just a mess.
Mm-hmm. So what's your judgment of people that take pills?
That there's something with them that they have to heal, and that's why the body's sucking.
Right. And that sounds like a fairly neutral, loving thought. I don't see that as a judgment.
Okay.
Your judgment of people that take pills. What's your judgment of people that do cocaine?
It's funny right now. I feel like I'm a drug addict.
Right. And what's your judgment of drug addicts? Let it fly.
Now I feel bad for them because that's how I feel. Like I need something to make me feel good.
You just don't want to say it. Let it fly. What's your judgment of drug addicts? Let it fly. Be rude. Use any language you want.
I don't know.
Well, if we were in a circle, I would ask everybody to help you with that. But your judgment of people that take drugs is devastating.
Yes, right now I feel like a loser.
Loser, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Only losers take drugs.
Yes.
Wow, is that true?
No.
No. Is it true that sometimes I need little help?
Yes.
Sometimes my ego is so strong that I need a little help.
Yes.
I'm not going to need that help the rest of my life, but right now I do.
Amen.
Is there any judgment of that? No, there isn't. That's just where I am right now. And then I'm going to go back to doing my work. And your work just came up because you had that judgment. One of your forgiveness is forgive me for believing I'm a loser. Who told you that? Who gave you that message when you were a little girl?
I guess just me. I don't remember anybody telling me. But
No, you got the message from something outside of you. So if everybody outside of you looks at you in total admiration and adoration and sits at your feet and kisses you and looks after every single need you need immediately, then you wouldn't develop any ideas or beliefs, but you did. You developed as you're a loser.
yes.
So did I. And I know exactly where it comes from. You need to find out the first time you decided that. The earliest memory, and transform it there. It's not true. You're not a loser. You know, what does it say about you? You're taking medication right now? There's a brilliant message it gives you. And it's the following. You're taking medication right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the message. There's no other message. And right now, it either helps you or it doesn't help you. If it doesn't help you, find another way. If it does help you, use it for the time being. But you've done nothing wrong. And the idea that you're a loser is the reason you're taking medication. See, the ego works in these wonderful circular ways. It tells you you're a loser, and then you need medication to not experience that. You take the medication, it tells you you're a loser. Are we all laughing yet? That's how it works. That's how crazy we are.
Yes.
Everything the ego tells me, I buy into it. As soon as it says something, I say, oh yeah, that must be true because I feel it. No, the fact that I feel it tells me it's not true. If it were true, I'd feel joy. Cool?
Thank you. Thanks.
So, forgive me for forgetting. There's nothing wrong with me. Say it.
Forgive me for forgetting there's nothing wrong with me.
Thank God that is the truth, Karen. That is the truth, and it's unchangeable. There's nothing wrong with you. You and I have a few mistaken ideas about ourselves. That's all. They do not affect the essence of who we are. They cannot change the essence. We are love. I am love. You are love. That's unchangeable. Forgive me for saying that I'm whole and complete. Thank you. Well done.
Thanks.
Okay. And Janet.
Hello. I can't see myself, but can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So nice to meet you. I'm a longtime course student, 22 years, and I just found you, Diederik, about a week and a half ago. And I love your 6-step process and its capacity to heal. The question that I have is off your 6-step process methodology, though. I have listened to probably every YouTube video in the last week and a half that you've done, but so I know you're not big on the doing aspect. I'm wondering how you know what to do in terms of your life. So to back up, I've kind of cleaned my slate. I've raised my son, I've closed my business, I've sold my house, gave my car to my son, and I'm just kind of in a waiting period. And
I love your question. So
I'm wondering.
I love the question, and what I hear is you ask the question, but that you don't wait for the answer. Ask the question again. Who's going to make the decisions for me today? And then listen, and listen carefully, because you'll get an answer immediately. And if you keep listening, you'll get another answer. And the truth is, you do not have to decide that. So surrender what you're going to do today. I think if you've watched everything I've said, first of all, you must have a very boring life, but you may have heard me. what changed my life was the moment I learned to ask, how can I serve? That changed everything.
Yes.
Because from that question, I didn't have to worry anymore. I didn't have to say, oh, how am I going to make enough money for the rent, or how am I going to keep Choose Again alive, or how am I going to deal with this difficult staff member? No, how can I serve? And sit in that. You'll know the answer. So surrender. Recognize the voice of the ego, because it will speak first, and it will speak loudest, and it will be quite shrill, and it will also have an urgency. How do you know you're listening to the truth? There's no urgency. Truth does not require action. That doesn't mean action doesn't flow from truth, but it doesn't require it. I don't have to do anything. The Course has this wonderful line, you need do nothing. Everybody that reads that in the beginning, particularly, they say, oh, well, then I'm just going to lie and watch TV. Well, that's still doing something, but it's also not talking about. It's talking about the word need. Your worth is established by God. In other words, you don't need to do anything to establish your worth. You also don't need anything to prove how miserable and awful you are, which is what the ego wants you to do things for. I need do nothing. How can I serve? And then you trust and you surrender to your faith. And the faith says, whatever I do will be infused with love. And when it's not infused with love, it's because my ego joined on the trip and I have some work to do. Big deal. We all do. Cool?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and be patient. Be patient. If you just heard about this work a week and a half ago, be patient. It's not an easy path. It's a very simple path, but it's not easy. And why is it not easy? Because the ego will continuously jump in and say, oh, no, that's not how we're doing it. You need to be right. You're right about this. You're right about that. Oh. And, sorry, the picture fell away. And you don't need to do anything about that. Just listen to the ego with love. Recognize it will always talk. It will always give you judgment. It will always put you down. And if it doesn't put you down, it will put somebody else down. It will be merciless. So if I'm not at peace, guess where I'm living? In my beliefs. If I'm at peace, guess where I am? In the truth, in the astonishing light of your being. Fantastic. I'm really glad you're making steps on this path. Well done. Where did you,
Thank you.
Where did you hear about us?
I have just been in a really intense search for what to do with my life when I grow up. And I don't know. I just, of course, I listened to Course things and somehow you came up. Okay. I don't know why I didn't come across you sooner, but
I didn't need to.
I'm glad I did.
You had other things to do before. Perfectly fine.
I guess.
Great to meet you. And we'll see you
Nice
again. We have one more question from Candace. Candace,
hello. Hi, I'm here.
Yep.
See me?
Now I see you. Yep.
All right, let me take my hand down. So my question is, and I think I already know the answer, but I think I just need to hear you say it. So before the pandemic started, and I would say going years back, I've had a problem with alcohol. And then before the pandemic started, maybe a couple of years ago, I was like, I've been doing a lot of self-improvement and I'm doing really well. So I was able to have like a glass of wine. And then the pandemic started and a glass of wine always turns into, 2 or 3. And I don't ever intend for it to be more than 1.
More than 1 bottle or 2 bottles?
1 bottle, 1 glass. But, and I feel like I'm, so let me just, so I feel like I'm like, my work is progressing and then I pick up a glass of wine and it's like, No, obviously I still hate myself.
Okay, what's a glass of wine for?
Not 5 ounces.
No, what is it for?
Oh, what's it for? To check out.
Okay. So I want to check out. What do I want to check out from?
Feelings.
I don't want to feel. What is the feeling that right now comes to mind you would love to obliterate? Feeling that comes up most often.
Sadness.
Sadness. So go to that sadness. Close your eyes and allow that sadness to come in. And of course, it's familiar. You build a whole experience with alcohol around it, so it's very familiar.
Mhm.
Where does it come from? When with little Candace feel that sadness.
Yeah,
What happened?
I'm abandoned. I'm abandoned.
You're abandoned, right? And what did that say about you?
But I'm alone.
And we did work on loneliness. We worked.
Yeah. And I didn't. No,
You didn't what?
I didn't really identify when you were working on loneliness. I identified more with deserving to suffer.
So you deserve to suffer. You deserve to be abandoned.
Mhm.
And a glass of wine will make you forget that.
Yeah.
Right. So isn't that interesting that a glass of wine does make you forget that? Then in my mind, why would my ego just say, don't take one, take 2, 3, 4, 5, actually reach for the second bottle? Where would that come from?
What do you mean? Where would it come from to want to reach for more?
Yeah.
That belief that I deserve to suffer and be alone.
Right, exactly. So one glass of wine makes you feel wonderful. And then your ego says, well, if it makes you feel that good, why don't we have 5? But there's a sneaky purpose behind it, and that is to strengthen your guilt, strengthen your self-loathing, strengthen your self-hatred. And yet, none of it has anything to do with that. A glass of wine is a neutral event. A bottle of wine is a neutral event.
Huh?
Meaning you've given it has nothing to do with the alcohol. That's why you'll never hear me addressing alcoholism as a disease.
Yeah.
There is a disease, and it's dis-ease. It is my self-hatred. So have a glass of wine, absolutely wonderful. Sit on a beach somewhere, have a glass of wine, have a toke, who cares? And watch where it comes from. If there's an urgency for more, you know there's something to be healed right now. What is that for?
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about because I love, as some of the people in this call know, I love sake. And I have a tendency, even after all this time, to have probably more sake than other people would. And I have such a delightfully spiritualized ego that I can say that's purely out of love. I can do that. So you and I just have to be more, we have to be a little more aware. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with drinking a bottle of wine. There's nothing wrong with drinking a bottle of wine. Just make sure that you know what it's for.
Yeah.
That's the only question we learn to answer. What is this for? It serves a purpose. So it can serve the purpose of helping the wine merchant make a little more money. That's a loving purpose. I don't think that enters your mind.
No.
Now, If the purpose is to strengthen my self-hatred, then that's a different purpose. I want to be aware of that. I'm not going to play that game anymore. But I have to be clear of that, and only I know that answer. So be gentle with yourself, look into it, recognize that there could be self-hatred. It doesn't have to be, but that could be. And be careful. Because you also know that there is a very strong school of thought, and is that if you have one drink, you're going to go fall back. That has not been my experience, but it could be yours. I will never say anything about that for anyone else. So just be aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
You're innocent.
Yeah,
And just make sure you drink good wine.
I do.
Okay, good.
I don't buy cheap wine.
If you want to poison yourself, it's got to be good quality poison. I agree. Are there any more questions? Is there anybody that has anything that, oh boy, if I'd only said that before we went? I don't see any. Oh, Fatima, come on in. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, sir. Actually, the question is kind of having it.
Is that because I'm old? I'm a sir?
What? You're a sir as a, I don't know. I was just raised like that, Diederik. You know, it's habitual, sir. So the quick question was, I actually weaned off of meds. Yay me. So, but my, you know how there is like the syndrome still after weaning off of meds of not being on the med and like supposedly the brain will try to correct and all of that. Let's just say that's real, whatever. I'm feeling something, right? But the question that keeps popping up is, was it a loving choice that I, weaned off, right? Or I'm off a medication, right? And I mean, I'm a firm believer, like take your Zoloft, come to circle, like who the hell cares, right? You know, but it's just, I don't know why I'm questioning it.
Well, one way of answering it, which is a way I would like to answer it for myself, is that ultimately everything is a loving decision. Because even if I make a decision that appears to be doing damage to me, it is only for me to see that I still hate myself. So it's still a loving decision. So constantly be aware of your thoughts and your feelings. And that's what you work with. You work with your feelings. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to figure it out. Go by your feelings. When I take medication, I feel this. When I stop, I feel that. What is that feeling telling me about me? You heard somebody else who's taking some medication. Their judgment is, I'm a loser. That's not the correct judgment. What does it mean that I'm taking medication? It means I'm taking medication. That's all it means.
Right. And I appreciated that person too, because that was a process that I went through where like, oh, only losers take medications and whatever. And I really appreciated that. But yeah, I see it now. It's a neutral event. I take or I don't take medications.
Maybe you're ready to arrive at the rock solid faith-based position that everything has always been for me, including taking medication, including drinking balls of wine, including ruining my business, etc., etc. It's all for me. I just have to figure out how, and then I have to use it.
And you said a word, surrender. Just surrender to the experience. It's just an experience. It's not even real. Just surrender.
Surrender to it is. Yeah, careful with it's not even real because you're not at that level. I'm not either. So I surrender to experience because it's something that I need to heal. That's why I surrender to it.
Right.
So you will not hear me say, well, you may have heard me say it and I will take it back. It's not real to me. If I'm that advanced, I'm not going to do webinars on Facebook. I won't be here. I'm still here at the farm. Meanwhile, back at the farm. That's where we are. So you do the work at the position that you are now. And as soon as you and I walk across the water, then we'll have another conversation. But I don't see it happening yet.
Right. And when are you coming to the Woodinville family? We miss
I'll
you.
come as soon as we all have had our shots and we're safe, and I'm not going to kill you, or you're not going to kill me.
Inshallah,
Inshallah. It
inshallah.
won't be long. Great. Thank you for
Inshallah,
I'll see you
yes.
soon.
Thank you.
And give them all a virtual hug.
I will.
Okay. Are we complete for today? I believe we are. I see no blue hands. So nobody is. Claire, you're not leaving with something you don't want to leave with?